Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. And, wow, we've been doing this show since April 2018, and I can say quite easily that we have our most distinguished guest ever, Ruth Colvin. She's the founder of Literacy Volunteers of America. Ruth, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, you're coming in loud and clear. And I know you're not that far away. Where are you? I know you're on the West Coast, so where are you? Because you're not in the studio.
No, that's right. I'm in Livermore, California, and I've been in the Sea Ranch, too, visiting my daughter. Each morning I would swim 30 lengths of a pool daily in your sunshine. I'm thoroughly enjoying your sunshine.
Oh, and so we are. So are we, because we've had rain for the last 3 months. So it's warmed up some, and the sun is out too. Now, I know about your swimming. Do you only go places where there's a swimming pool? Because you're up there 30 laps. Oh my goodness, I can't do one.
I'm not a strong swimmer, but I do keep going. As you know, I'm a gal from the Swedish background, and I have keep going all the time.
That keep going attitude.
Right.
Are you still playing? I have to ask this before we get into some of the other background information. Are you still playing golf?
I hate to say it, but I am.
Okay.
But only 9 holes.
9
only
holes.
9 holes. A shorter ball, a lot higher handicap, but I'm just as good at my chipping and my putting, so if you give me enough strokes, I'll play with anybody.
Very good. We have to do that someday. So glad to have you. And just some real basic information. You're 102 years old. Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, 1916. Yes, I am 102.
My God.
I'm the eldest of 5. My father died at 38. In 1929, the Big Depression. So things were difficult for us.
Right. So you're 13 years old. You saw what was taking.
I was 12 years old.
12 years old, and things were changing. It wasn't a good time for America. How was it for you and your family?
Being 12 years old and the oldest, I grew up early. I had charge of much of it. And in my days, remember when my father died, women were not given the opportunity to be executive of estates. So not my mother, but my Uncle Frank was the executor. So I was born in a one-parent family.
And we kind of think about how things are traditionally. It's a 2-parent family, maybe one-parent family more these days. But back then, sometimes you just had to be in a one-parent family, and you were. What was your home life like? I mean, we think of 1916, we think of farms and such. What was your home environment? Were you in the city?
I was in the city in the south side of Chicago. And it was a neighborhood because my father and his friends had this whole place where they had their businesses. They owned all this land. And they were building homes for people of moderate abilities. And so we had people from Italy, we had people from different countries there, and I was unaware that was a good background for me because different ones, as we were children, would stop by their house and they'd give us snacks of food, different from my Swedish parents, and I loved it. So to me, people of different cultures were important, even at an early age.
So you had the opportunity to meet people from different countries, different foods, different backgrounds and such, because of the family business.
Right.
And I'm sure that helped to carry you through the work that you ended up doing in the future. So let's talk about your education and your first career.
Well, my family had saved, and they had planned for me to go to the University of Illinois. So when I graduated from high school, my mother and I went to Uncle Frank for the tuition. And we were shocked. He said, "No, I'm saving it for the boys."
Oh.
Now, even then, as it has been most of my life, it's been a man's world. So I've had to learn that. But I had no choice. So I went to a tiny, tiny junior college, Thornton Junior College. Now, something good often comes of something bad. I didn't go to the University of Illinois. I went to this tiny junior college. That's where I met Bob, my husband. If I had gone to the University of Illinois, my entire life would have been different. Well, then we returned to Uncle Frank after my junior college, because I wanted to go on. Again, the surprise. No. I'll only give you money for business college. Something I didn't want, and I had no choice. But if I'm going to do something, I'm determined to be the best. Well, I graduated from this business college, went out to get a job. I had one interview. I've had only one interview in my life. But I got the job. Surprise, it was as a legal secretary, and I found that estates were settled. And I got my siblings to go to college and me to go to Northwestern University, where I was just short of 15 hours of my BS degree. But I completed my bachelor's degree after I was married at Syracuse University. Remember, to me, it's lifelong learning.
That's right.
And I continue to learn. Yes, I've been honored with 10 honorary doctorates from top universities and colleges. And the last one was this last spring when I was 101, and they told me I was the oldest commencement speaker in the country. But age is just a number, and I happen to have a big number, that's all.
Yeah, you do. Well, let me ask you just a couple of things. Was the college program what got you into Syracuse? How did you end up, because a lot of your work is Syracuse-centered.
How did I end up in Syracuse? Well, first of all, we were married in Chicago, and Bob's first job was in Seattle, Washington. So we lived in Seattle, Washington for every year. But that was not the kind of a job he wanted. He had won third place in a national conference there, and they gave him a $5 a week raise. So that wasn't his way. So we sold our car and what little we had, and we had applied to New York for the much-wanted job, a job he really wanted. And we could only afford a one-way ticket, and, of course, no sleeping berths. We had to sit up to go to New York. But it was December 7th, 1941.
Oh.
Bob was 26 in the draft. We were on our way to applying for a job that he didn't have when World War II was proclaimed.
My goodness. So
Bob got the job.
Right.
And we were sent to Syracuse, New York, a city we'd never heard of, and it became our home for 73 years.
And that's where you live now, right?
That's where I live now.
Very good. I have to go back on a couple of things because I think they're pretty important. One of them is your mom's attitude about you going to college. Tell us about that, because as you said, it wasn't normal for women to be in positions of power or being prepped for careers.
Neither of my parents. I think they graduated from high school, but I'm not even sure they graduated from high school. But they had dreams beyond that for their children. And they were saving for us and with their children. And we had the World Book, this kind of books at home all the time. They were preparing us for the future. And so my mother wanted to continue it. And she said, we'd save for it. Come on, Ruthie. And of course, I wanted to go. Yeah. I was a student.
And a good student, elementary school, junior high, high school?
Well, I don't know how good I was, but I liked it. I did my best all the time.
Also, maybe a surprise to our listeners, you mentioned junior college, what we call community college now. I didn't know, at least, that they had that back then. I mean, I credit my being where I am today to the community college district here in San Diego Community College District, for giving me the opportunity to move on to higher education, that is, going into a 4-year school eventually and getting my BA. Was it common to have junior colleges back then?
There weren't many, but they were the grandfather of the community college, and they were in the high school. It was no building. It was in the high school. There were only about 200 of us in our class, the whole 2 years there, 200. And who were our teachers? Because it couldn't be the high school teachers. They had their own program.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the professors from the University of Chicago were moonlighting and helping in the junior colleges. So we had outstanding professors in our little tiny junior college.
And was it near where you lived?
Oh no. There again, everything is for you. You take buses, you share rides, you do this, you learn. If everything doesn't go right all the time, and we want things to go right for our children all the time, but sometimes it's best if they don't, because you learn from them.
That's right.
You learn from your mistakes. You learn how, if I want to go to this junior college, you learn ways to get there.
Very good.
And we'd share rides, or I'd take a bus, we'd get there.
It was a different America, certainly, and maybe just something that we can only read about, or maybe there's some film and photos, and then we have your history. Ruth, we're going to take a break here. We have 4 segments, and we're going to do all of them with you, and get into a little bit about how you started Literacy Volunteers of America. So let's prep for that. I'm Jose Cruz. We're with Ruth Colvin, and this is WS Radio, Literacy for All radio show, and we'll see you in the next segment.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple, and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com, on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back. I'm Jose Cruz. This is the Literacy for All radio show. We're on WS Radio, and our guest is Ruth Colvin. Before we go much further, Ruth, I wanted to thank, I know we have a lot of listeners right now, probably more live listeners than ever. We do podcast this show, but I just wanted to thank the folks at Pro Literacy for promoting, doing a national promotion of this show through their network. So thank you so much, Pro Literacy. My next question, Ruth, relates to the how and why of starting Literacy Volunteers of America. You are the founder. How did that happen?
Well, in 1960, census came out, and the Syracuse papers headlined that there were 11,055 functional illiterates in Syracuse, New York. Who were they? Why couldn't they read? We were an education city. What was being done to help them? Well, I did my research, and I found that nothing was being done. Well, I can't believe a life without reading. So I had a coffee at my home, inviting the members, now this took courage, members of the Board of Education, the heads of Rotary, Kiwanis, women's groups, hoping someone would tackle the problem. Well, all were shocked, but only one woman, Myra Eady, asked me to present it to her group. She was head of Church Women United, representing the women of 80 churches. Well, I spruced up my talk, spoke to them, and they voted unanimously to sponsor a literacy project if I would take charge.
and you did.
That was the start of Literacy Volunteers.
My goodness. And what were you doing, let's say, the day before you made that presentation? What did you think you were going to do in your career?
I had a Girl Scout troop. I was active in my church. I was on a couple of boards. I did a lot of secretarial work for my husband. My one daughter was still home in high school, and I did a lot with her. So I had a full life.
Very good. But this touched you for some reason reading this article, and quite interesting because we think, I come from 1984, 1985. You know, we look at Project Literacy US, and that was the National Literacy Awareness Campaign that was promoted by ABC and PBS. And we kind of feel like, hey, you know, we finally, America's Secret is out there. But you had information from the 1960s census that got your attention, and that touched you and inspired you to do something. What were you thinking, feeling? What made you go out and do that presentation? Why do you think you took that lead role?
Well, first of all, when I believed that they couldn't read, I had to do something. But remember, I was not a teacher, but I had heard Frank Laubach and Wealthy Hansinger Fisher speak, and I became a Laubach trainer, using only the Laubach materials in that first year. But as convinced as I was that only phonics was the answer, I found, there again, I had business training, and you're supposed to go up, not down, but I found I was losing tutors and students.
Oh.
So what did I do? What I should have done earlier. I called Syracuse University, Dr. Frank Green, head of the reading clinic. Now, there again, that took a lot of courage on me because I didn't even have just a basic education.
Right. Who is this person? Well,
that's right. Well, I had good PR, and so I told him my problem, and I said, "Can you help me?" And he immediately said, "Yes, I know what your problem is." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Your methods are behind the times." I said, "Well, can you help me?" "Yes, come in Saturday and meet with my 15 PhD reading specialist." I was petrified. Who was I to work with 15 PhD reading specialist. But it was like the sky opening up, and I learned. I learned it should be learner-centered, not just words. I learned about language experience, where students share their goals and desires, where phonics was important. But even in English, A has many sounds. A is in cat, aw is in all, ah is in car, A is in came. But English is a pattern language. Cat, rat, fat, car, bar, far. 2, I learned that many sight words, which are not phonetically regular, such as light, L-I-G-H-T, to sound it out in phonics, you say ligata.
Yes.
But then it's a pattern word, light, sight, might. And most important, I learned that one can't just read words. One must have comprehension. What the words and sentences actually mean. Well, my job was to put these top PhD professional concepts into simple layman's language so that my tutors could understand them. And that's when I met Dr. Jane Root, who wrote the first 5 editions of Tutor with me. It's now in its 8th edition. I'm still working to fulfill the unmet needs of students and tutors, always trying to keep an open mind. If anybody is interested in reading my book, Away with Words, you can get it through Pro Literacy. Tells of our beginning, our growth, and literacy volunteers of America's merger with Laubach Literacy to become Pro Literacy, now with over 1,000 member organizations.
Right. We've actually gone through some changes. I mean, there was a time of Laubach Literacy Action, Laubach Literacy International, Literacy Volunteers of America, and the methodologies and such. What would you say have been the biggest changes with the tutor book over 8 editions? If you looked at the first edition and what's there now, many changes, pretty much the same.
I'd say 80 to 90% the same, but always new ones. All right, when they said I should start looking for Tutor 8, I looked through it, and because I travel and I like to keep in touch with people, I wanted to find their unmet needs. The biggest unmet need we found was learning disabilities. All right, we can do all this, but what do you do when you have a student who has learning disabilities?
That's right, yeah.
We're not professionals. Well, I did my research. I did everything I could, and then I thought I've got to have professional help. Well, luckily we're connected around the country, so I checked around who are some of the top people in learning disabilities. To my surprise, one of the top one was right there at Syracuse University, Dr. Corinne Smith. Well, I didn't know Dr. Corinne Smith. I called her on the phone. Luckily, I had good PR. And she said, yes, I understand. And I said, well, I did my research. Would you be willing to look at it and to help me? And she said, no, that's not the way to do it. The first thing I want to do is I want to know your philosophy. I'd like to read Tutor 7. So I had them send her Tutor 7.
Mm-hmm.
She looked at it and she said, you're right on track. I would be glad to do it. There again, pro bono. I couldn't afford her.
Oh, my God.
Pro bono. And she worked with me, and on Tutor 8, there is a full chapter on learning disabilities to help our students.
That's it. That's a big change. I mean, that's an important chapter, if that's what we can call it. And so glad to hear of that update. We have about 2.5 minutes before break. Before we move on, can you tell us why you went into the business of speaking individuals to learn English? Because there's literacy, there's adults who are English speaking, then there are those individuals who are still learning English. And so why did you start teaching people who didn't speak English to speak and understand English as well as read and write it?
Well, at first, we only accepted those who spoke English to help them read and write it. We said, well, we can't solve all the problems in the world. But in the late 1970s, when more immigrants, they couldn't speak English, were asking for help. Well, I did my research. I have to get a background or I can't help them. And I took many training courses I could to find the best way to teach those who spoke no English. I learned that it was easier for those who could read and write in their native language to learn English. Difficult for those who couldn't read or write in English. Why not then teach native language literacy, especially Spanish, because we have many Spanish people who speak Spanish but can't read and write it, before teaching English? The result was my book, I Speak English. Now it's in its 5th edition. And to my surprise, more than half of our students across the country are in the English second language or language learning classes. I found how important it is to keep an open mind, working always to fulfill those unmet needs of our tutors and students.
Very good. I mean, that's, Ruth, so important that, one, when we look at, in, let's say, California, or in San Diego for that matter, the adults who are asking for help, even though most of the adults who need help in San Diego County are English-speaking, most of those who are requesting services are not. They want to learn English, and so here we have to respond to the demand. But two, you became an advocate early on for native language literacy, so that if a person was Spanish-speaking, they would use materials that would be in Spanish, and the research is showing that's the way to go. We don't get a lot of advocacy for that or funding for it. It's one of those areas of literacy, parts of it in the continuum that people don't understand, and you were an early advocate. So I want to talk more about that, but also get into some of the history, because things really got interesting in the mid-1980s, and some really big players in partnership with you and others came into play to bring us where we are today. So we'll be back with Ruth Colvin. I'm Jose Cruz. This is the Literacy for All radio show. We're on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. MOZEguitars.com, 619-698-1185.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. MCAULIFFE. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com. Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com. Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. Our guest is Ruth Colvin, and we've been talking about her years in literacy and such, and just the different innovations, really, and I'll call them innovations, especially given what was happening or not happening in the early 1960s and beyond. Ruth, just one more bit on the native language literacy program, the I Speak English book. What was your cue that this was something that needed to happen? Because a lot of folks would say, well, they don't know English, teach them English. And you said, let's get them to read in their native language first.
That was experimental. I was working with people who could read and write in their own language, and everything was going along so fast and well. And then when I got some students that couldn't read and write, and I didn't connect the two, until finally it dawned on me. There is a connection between reading and writing in one language and another. And if you have it in your first language, and this is why I've written books in about 5 languages, hoping in their native language as a first step to English. Because throughout the world, English is a major language of upward mobility. They want to learn it. And by having that second language, they do it quicker.
Well, your instincts have been pretty good. Plus, you've been quite brave just in approaching the experts about this cause and getting them to invest in it. And you've played with some really big players, and I would say at the very top level, who recognize the importance of the work, who liked you and your leadership. Let's talk about them. At least one of them. How did you first meet Barbara Bush?
I was visiting my son in Washington, D.C., when I got a call from my office that Barbara Bush, the wife of the Vice President of the United States, invited me to a coffee. Well, I was amazed, but thrilled. Well, I had my son bring me to the observatory where the Vice President lived. I looked around, no cars there. Were we the first ones to be there? I didn't want to be the first one to her coffee. But I knocked on the door. A butler answered, and I said, I'm Mrs. Colvin. He invited me in and said Mrs. Bush would be down shortly. She warmly welcomed me, but what a surprise. I was to be her only guest. Mrs. Bush was interested in knowing about literacy, for she was considering using literacy as her project as the Vice President's wife. That was the start of our friendship. For not only was she a speaker at several of our conferences, but she wrote the introduction to 2 of my books, and we kept up a correspondence as friends.
Well, this worked out for us because we're still riding on the momentum that Mrs. Bush generated, because it was just a few years later, where her husband, the vice president, became her husband, the president of the United States. So now we had, for I want to say the first time ever, maybe I should research that, a first lady whose cause was literacy and adult literacy, and who had made connections, who met you and knew about Literacy Volunteers of America. So that's and I tell people, we're going back to 1984, 85, that we are still riding on that momentum. We need another Barbara Bush out there. And
no, that's right. Remember. And then her son gave me the Medal of Freedom, and Laura Bush also interviewed me and gave me an honor in New York City. So the whole family, it was wonderful.
Very good. And again, good for the work that we're all doing together. And like I say, I go back to 1985, but you go back to 25 years before that. And we have this continuity and this passion, and we're all, a lot of us, we're still here. We can just go and looking back, and continuing to pursue our vision for literacy for all. Can you tell us about the countries that you visited and the work you did in those countries for literacy?
Well, as you know, my husband and I were in 62 countries, and we worked in 26 developing countries. We were invited by the International Executive Service Corps, by USAID, by the United Methodists, the Presbyterians, the Seventh-day Adventists, by several universities, and by local international nonprofits. So we were there representing literacy wherever they wanted it. We gave 3 months as volunteers over our many years, and I wrote 93 stories of people in 9 countries who touched their lives in my book, Off the Beaten Path. And my next book will be out this year, Life, Love, and Literacy, over 100 years in the making. Not only telling my life stories, but stories of many people in the country, other countries who touched our lives. Well, I was invited 3 times to South Africa. But let me share the first time, during apartheid. It was illegal then to meet with people of different races, but we did our training anyway with other races. 2, Colonel Pogetier from the South African Army, he asked to join us. For while he was in charge of teaching basic literacy to the black soldiers, he had had no training. Well, I didn't know what to do, for I knew the government was against what we were doing. So I went to Archbishop Tutu with the Council of Churches, and he explained that they had been raided by the apartheid government, never agreeing, but he thought about it. And he finally suggested, yes, I want you to include them and have him as representative of the apartheid army. So I did it. Well, Colonel Potier wore no uniform, but everyone knew who he was. And they asked me, do you know what you're doing? No, I didn't. But we went on with our training anyhow. Well, I find that those of different races, different beliefs, work together as a project. They forget their differences, and that happened in our class. Well, to demonstrate final techniques, I asked one of our black participants to act as the tutor, and Colonel Pogetier, the white man from the Army, as student. They did a remarkable job, and everyone clapped. Yes, to me, it was a minor miracle. A black man teaching a white Army officer.
My goodness. I have to ask, just going into South Africa at that time, did you expect to do the things that you ended up doing there, one, and did you fear for your life?
I did not know that I was doing things illegally. But if you have a passion for something and the people encourage you, you've got to take some risk. And I did. Yes, I had my phone tapped. I know that. And when I visited some of the people, I knew I was followed. But when you're doing the right thing, you've got to keep going. And I guess I'm stubborn, but I keep moving ahead.
You're stubborn and you're brave and generous and a true leader. I'm learning more about your story as we're chatting right now, and I'm so glad to have the listeners that we have learning about your history, because it wasn't just, we say the founder of Literacy Volunteers of America, but there are so many other things that come with that. And this story is one that is one that more people need to hear. Can you tell us about adventures in other I know I'm taking you a little bit off the path here, but other countries, you do have your next book coming out. I'm working on my first one. Your book, Life, Live, and Literacy, over 100 years in the making. You've met a lot of people. You just told your South Africa story. Is there maybe another country that you would want to share with us relating to your literacy work? I've
been to so many countries, and people ask me, what's your favorite one? Well, it's not the country, and much as I like the nature, South Africa is one of the most beautiful countries, but it's the people in the country who are there. I've been in prisons, not that I was in prison, but I was in visit to help prisoners. I've been in leper colonies. I had never seen anything like that before. I've been in places where it was legal to do, as I say, what I was doing. But we all have to share. You have to share what you can with people. If you never take a risk, you'll never go forward anywhere. They have to be thought ahead, though. You don't just take to anyone. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the most interesting have been in Papua New Guinea. I had never even heard of Papua New Guinea before. And being there and seeing what happens to people, how you can help them. I think this is why one of the things that I learned is learner-centered.
No matter where.
No matter where, yes. As I say, like you say, when we're working with Hispanics, look at it through the Hispanic eyes, not your eyes.
Very good. Ruth, we're going to go to break. Again, this will be our last break, and then we'll come in for our last segment. Just a few more questions about other countries, and then what were your biggest successes and failures? So, listeners, join us for our last segment. I'm Jose Cruz. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days?
What's that mean? Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/express funding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat. Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Too much to do? Not enough time to get it done? Call on the experts at Another 8 Hours for your business support needs. By partnering with Another 8 Hours, we allow you to focus on the more important matters, like being in front of your clients, doing what you do best, rather than being stuck at a desk poring over paperwork, rummaging through emails, returning phone calls, and struggling to get everything done by yourself. Meanwhile, your family and social life are going down the drain. Go to another8hours.com or call 8 more hours. That's 866-734-6877.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect.
Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
And welcome back. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. This is the Literacy for All radio show, and we're on WS Radio. Our guest is Ruth Colvin. Ruth, I have a friend named Phyllis Ruth, so I hope I didn't call you Phyllis in the last segment, because I know who you are, and a lot of us do, and we love you, and we thank you for all of your work. I just wanted to go back to one topic. I just wanted to say, when I go on vacation and travel to other places, I'm not going to leper colonies or prisons. And so, again, just thank you for your outreach to people in need, who we sometimes forget about. So I have my next question, and that is, what were your biggest successes and failures in your work?
Yes, I've been honored by 2 presidents of the USA, and I've been inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame, but I've also been rejected. I've been ignored, because in my day, women weren't supposed to be doing what I did. I've had successes, but I've had failures, and I've made mistakes. But I've learned from my failures and mistakes, and I think that's what's so important.
That's right. You just we learn from we don't learn from our successes. They reinforce things, but just in terms of progressing and growing, we have to make those errors. So you're still here. You're doing wonderfully. We're so excited because the national conference, Pro Literacy's National Conference for Adult Literacy, is going to be in San Diego in September. It's out on Harbor Island. Why is this conference important to you?
I'll be there, for it is most important to me. Giving me and all the participants opportunities to learn the latest in our work, to share ideas, to meet so many others working with us, sharing our passion in literacy. We must always keep that mind open, keep learning, but what a better way to do it by showing our passion and sharing our successes. And that's what we do at the conference.
Absolutely, and thank you to Pro Literacy for convening us. I mean, as the national representative for adult literacy in the United States, this coming together of advocates and professionals and volunteers and students and agencies that dedicate themselves to improving literacy in the U.S., this kind of coming together is important to us, that we support each other, we speak each other's languages, we get to vent, we get to talk about what's working and what's not working. So we're excited. I know it's going to be a big conference, and I'd encourage people to go to proliteracy.org to learn more about this conference and think about being there, joining with us, because it's going to be a good time. Let's get to a question here that I know people always ask you, Ruth. What is your secret to longevity, and what is your advice to people?
I have no secret for why I'm 102. But I still keep going, and I do count my blessings. But I do believe in a balanced life. And the first part is physical. And I exercise daily. I go to the gym, I swim, I play golf, and I do what I can. And people say, well, how good that you like to exercise. Who said I like to? I do it because I want to keep fit, if I want to keep this kind of life.
And do you ever get up in the morning, and I think I know the answer to this question, and say to yourself, I really don't feel like doing this today?
Every morning, and the older you get, remember I'm 102, the older you get, the harder it is.
Yes.
But I am determined. And a lot of it is your choice. And my choice is go ahead, do the morning exercises, because I do them in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and it does help you. You've got to keep that open mind for physical. And the second one is mental. You have to keep reading, and that's why we help people. And keep writing. Write your own history. Write your own memoirs. Write them down so that your grandchildren can keep them. And it helps your mind, too. Discuss problems. Don't just think of them in your mind. And interest with somebody else. I'm on 2 boards, and I'm in 2 book clubs, and I do enjoy problem solving and doing research. But remember, we have no control over Alzheimer's or dementia. And we've done nothing wrong, those that get it. But I count my blessings. Keep an open mind and keep thinking, meditating, and don't give up. And the third one is emotional. Now, that's difficult for me, for I lost Bob over 4 years ago after 73 years together.
Oh, my, yeah.
But I chose to be positive. I'll always miss him, but I count my blessings, for I had him for 73 years. And the fourth is spiritual. I have a strong faith, but I've learned to respect everyone's religion, for we are what we were brought up to be. I look for the similarities, not the differences. And with those balance, I challenge you to beat my 102 years.
I'm working on it. I know a lot of other people are, and yes, and we have a role model, so there. So I'm going through your list here. That's first physical, second mental, third emotional, and the fourth is spiritual. Tell us more about your faith.
I'm a Protestant. Why am I a Protestant? Well, I was asked to teach the imam's wife. The imam is the head of the Muslim temple there. But he wanted to interview me because he didn't want anybody to proselytize, and I don't believe in proselytizing.
Mm-hmm.
So he interviewed me, and I passed his test, and I was to start teaching his wife. And as we got up, I said to him, "You do know I'm a Christian." He said, "Yes, I know you're a Christian." I said, "Do you want to know why I'm a Christian?" "Yes, why are you a Christian?" "Because I was brought up a Christian."
Mm-hmm.
"If I was brought up a Muslim, I think I'd be a good Muslim." He shakes his head, "Oh, yes." I said, "If I were brought up a Jew, I think I'd be a good Jewish."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yes." And then I said, "If you were brought up a Christian, you might be a good Christian." Well, I saw the shock on his face. And then he got it. Respect for other people's religion. I taught her for 2 years. They are now in Egypt. They still keep up with me by email. So if you can respect other people's religion, you open the door to new friendships and to more peace in the world.
Very good. That's a message we need so badly right now, so thank you for sharing that. One last thing. We're about a minute away from break. What message would you like to give our audience of literacy advocates?
Well, I still dream of a totally literate America, of being able to communicate with all. And this is why both Tutor and I Speak English are my basis work. Unless you're an American Indian, we all have a heritage of ancestors coming to America as immigrants. And we all have the same desire to get ahead, and do we want the best for our children, wherever we came from. And I do want to thank all of you for never giving up, for keeping an open mind to lifelong learning, and for all the lives each of you have touched. For you've touched lives daily, whether you want to or not. And thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. It has been an honor to share this hour with you. And if you'd like to meet Ruth Colvin, listeners, join us at the Pro Literacy Conference in San Diego in September. I believe the first day is September 25th. And, come by and say hi, and you'll take photos with them, won't you?
I sure will.
All right.
I'm very proud of all of you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Literacy for All radio show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. This is WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
In the military, things can change in an instant. Your personal life is just the same. Just like you protect our country, you want your family protected. That's why thousands of military members trust Navy Mutual Life Insurance. Navy Mutual is nonprofit, providing current and former Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard families with life insurance, no sales fees, and no military service restrictions. Protecting members on active duty and beyond. Call 1-800-628-6011. 800-628-6011. NavyMutual.org. Insuring those who serve.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days?
What's that mean? Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. MOZEguitars.com, 619-698-1185.